Alright guys, thank you for watching this video. Today our objective is to obey subject-verb agreement rules. The general principle is that some verbs are singular, some verbs are plural. For singular subjects, use a singular verb. For plural subjects, use a plural verb. So the first rule here is singular subjects take singular verbs. Now there's a little trick here. Singular verbs end in S. In the present tense. So for example, is, jumps. Here's a past tense one that ends in S, was, and then like, we'll say bends. So you notice that all of these end in S. S, 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 S. They end in S. Plural subjects take plural verbs. Now, plural verbs do not end in S. So here are some examples. Are for is, jump, were instead of was, and bend. So you'll notice that these are plural verbs. They go with plural subjects, and they do not end in S. So here's the trick, though. And this is how the test will trick you. The number of a subject is not changed by a word in a phrase or a clause following the subject. This means that a prepositional phrase, like an adjective phrase, or a participle phrase, or an adjective clause, will not affect how many people, places, or things the subject talks about. So let's look at some examples. That plan. This is a singular subject. That means we need a singular verb, which is an S at the end. So this is a singular verb. Here's another one. The girls, that is a plural subject. And the boys, that is a plural subject. And then they try to confuse you with a prepositional phrase, on the tennis team. You have to ignore prepositional phrases. Although the tennis team is singular, we're not talking about the team, we're talking about the girls and the boys. And that's plural. So this means we're going to use a verb with no S at the end, which is why we're going to say are. Alright, the next one. To finish. To finish is a singular subject. This is one thing, one goal, one thing we're trying to do. Now 3 chapters, this does not have a bearing on what the actual subject is. To finish is my goal, not 3 chapters is my goal. So to finish is singular. This is one goal, one thing, one subject. So that means we're going to use a verb that ends in S. So we're going to have this. Singular verb. This was a plural verb up here. Okay, the lead singer. This is a singular subject. It's one singer. And then they try to confuse you with this prepositional phrase, as well as the band members. This only exists to make you think that maybe this sentence is plural. It's not. You have to ignore little sneaky prepositional phrases like this. See the commas on both sides? That's telling you that it's not essential. It's not going to have any impact on this whole sentence. So you got to ignore it. So because the singer is singular, we need to use a singular verb, one that ends in S, so we're going to say is. Here's the last example. The funds. Notice how funds ends in S? That means that this subject is plural. The funds. So this means a verb that does not end in S, so we're going to use the verb are. Here is our plural verb over here with are. Let's do some sample ones. So please excuse the sound of my dog. So here's the subject, opinions. Opinions is plural. See how it ends in S here? This is a plural subject. This means we're going to use a verb that does not end in S. So we're going to say opinions are. Notice how I skipped this prepositional phrase. I didn't even read it. I'm not even going to consider it. It's just a waste of time. Okay, so here's the second one. Ellen Goodman. This is a singular subject. Ellen Goodman is one person. Now, as well as other writers, this is a trick. It's a prepositional phrase. It only exists to kind of describe a little bit more. So you want to ignore that. We're still dealing with only Ellen Goodman. Singular subjects end in S, so we're going to say speaks, because this ends in S. Number 3. A person. Singular subject. A person is one person. So we're going to ignore this clause, this adjective clause. Ignore that. we just have a person, singular subject, verb ends in S, a person keeps. And number 4, one writer, singular subject. How many writers? One writer. One is singular. That means a verb that ends in S. And we're going to ignore these humorous columns. Just there to confuse you, this prepositional phrase. 5, government policy. That's a singular subject. We're going to ignore this prepositional phrase along with rising taxes. And we're going to use the verb that ends in S, receives, because it is singular. Alright guys, so our objective today was to use the correct verb with the correct subject. And you know, the best note you can take is just to remind yourself, brute force memory, singular verbs end in S. And this can get really confusing because on the test there will be sentences that sound correct if you use your intuition. We can't use our intuition. There's a difference between feeling something and knowing something. We're trying to know something here. So make sure that you double check that your singular subjects have verbs that end in S and your plural subjects have verbs that do not end in S. Good luck.